Hello, character importer tubers, and welcome back to an interlude episode with me, Blue Ankylo. So, before we start Curse of the Azure Bonds, which will be the next episode, I want to talk a little bit about importing characters and sort of what you have to do if you want to do it as well, and what my plans are. Because I haven't 100% decided, and I want to at least let some feedback build up on this video before I finalize my decisions. So, first off, looks very familiar to Pool of Radiance, perhaps, but this is in Curse of the Azure Bonds. I've loaded it up and made sure everything worked ahead of time. So I've made some test parties in Curse, and I've also got my original 6 from Pool of Radiance. Sadly, you don't get to keep your items, which is really bad because we got all that amazing armor and weapons at the very end of the last game. But I think this game would be too easy if you could start with the best weapons and stuff. Well, +2, +3 weapons, stuff like that. It would be just too easy. So, unfortunately, we lose all our great stuff, and we may be able to find a reason for why when we finally get to the game. Now, just to show you, for this game, there's a few changes in the character generation from Pool of Radiance. For the most part, the classes are about the same for the races. It's still in the setting where, supposedly, non-humans suck. So the level limits for a fighter, mage, thief are not going to be very good. If we can actually look them up again. Let me see which. I always forget which book has them at the bottom. It's definitely not the hint book. Probably the Adventurer's Journal. Not the Adventurer's Journal. The manual. Manual. Okay, this is probably where they are. This gives you an idea anyway. I mean, the thief can get to level 12. Magic user level 11. The new Paladin can get to a level 11, Ranger 11. You could read all about how they gain levels up and spells and stuff. Fighters 12, so technically a fighter can get to a higher level than the special warrior classes. And you can also see here we've got up to level 5 mage spells and up to level 5 cleric spells as well as druid spells. Quite a lot of new stuff. This was, I believe, the screen I was looking for. So specifically, if you're trying to bring maximum level limits by race class. So if you're a mage, say you've got best int, an elf can now get to level 11. A half elf can only get to level 8. So we do have I think Christina, for instance, is a half elf cleric fighter mage. She can't really get very far on magic user. She's already passed her limit on cleric technically. Her limit on fighter is not very high. We're going to run into these level limits in this game, basically. So half-elves start kind of sucking. Halflings aren't very good anyway. They can definitely not get to very high fighter levels. Gnomes, similarly. So gnomes and halflings aren't really very good, unless you want a pure thief, which isn't very good anyway. Elves can at least get to a relatively high magic user level, but not a fighter level, even lower than half-elves. And then dwarves, they can only be fighters and thieves, but a level 9 fighter is still not high enough, seeing as if you remember at the end of last game, we were already level 7 or 8. So, we're going to be bypassing these even more so than the last one in this game. So, but other than that, most of the options are similar to the last one. There's no new races, except there's a couple new classes, and we can now pick rangers, which are basically the same as fighters, except the XP curve is a little bit slower. They get D8s instead of D10s for HP, and they get druidic spells. I think they also do bonus damage against giants or something. You can read through the guides if you're interested. Now, there's not always going to be a ranger option for some of the classes. A cleric ranger is possible, but you can't have a ranger magic user, unfortunately, if that's what you were looking for. Is there not a fighter mage? Yeah, there's a fighter mage, but no ranger mage. The reason for that, I believe, is in this game, a ranger actually can learn level 1 magic user spells eventually. Crazy if you're used to, like, more modern versions of D&D. So, I think that's where that limitation comes from, probably. Maybe there's a reason why rangers can't be ranger mages anyway, I don't know. But yeah, we've got rangers, and like if you had an elf, they should have had options, I believe, for that. Oh, maybe elves are prohibited from being rangers as well. I think you need to be like I said in the original game. These are are very human-centric. Half-elves, at least half-human, they have access to ranger at the very least. But most of the options you see here under human, of course. So we've got the new paladin finally, and we've got proper full rangers. Now, I like to have a paladin in the class, in the party, almost always for these old games. I think Earth Darkness would have been a paladin if we'd had the option to it in the first game. So I have a plan for that. And then a ranger, well, seeing as we have such an option as a half-elf cleric ranger, I might try something like that. I don't know if I want a pure ranger necessarily, but a cleric ranger is basically a cleric fighter, which isn't bad. So I may end up switching somebody like McGubbins to cleric ranger. I hear he liked rangers, as it turns out. And I also may change Mystic of Ba to something like a cleric mage. I think solo characters, from my experiences in Pool of Radiance, they just get one extra level over a multi-class character. So you'd have a slightly better magic user, but I'd rather have either more cleric fighter mages. Like, honestly, Christina at the end there, she could do everything. She could heal, she could fight, she could use magic. I still think a cleric fighter mage is probably the best. It just spreads out the experience a little bit. Early on in the game, you don't get as many spells. But now, one of the reasons I'm doing this demonstration, we don't start at level 1 this time. Even if you make a new character, they start about level 4 for multi-class. Or, I just want to get out of here. No, don't save. If you make a solo class, just a plain, say a plain cleric, you start, I guess level 5 seems to be about as good as you get. The experience is 25,000 anyway. The thing is, I would like to bring in our existing characters. So I can add a character from Pool of Radiance. So let's have a look at what happens with Earth Darkness when we bring him in. Well, we'll just add everybody. Might as well. So the whole team's here. Unfortunately, they don't get their items, so armor classes and stuff are gone. Also, remember the stats I adjusted? A female has lower strength. I'd fixed that. I'll have to refix it again. And interestingly, I noticed somebody like Mystic of Ba, he actually still has his negative constitution for dying, although Earth Darkness is supposed to have a bonus constitution from that manual. He has lost it. So there's been a couple tweaks on the carryover, which is a little bit strange. We will be able to level up in this game. We'll have the option of getting higher than level 6 and 7 for magic user. Well, 6 for magic users and clerics, and 7 and 8 for fighter. So we'll be able to keep moving people up. One thing, I think I'm actually going to start the game real quick, just so I can demonstrate a couple more things. Yeah, don't bother reading any of this. We'll go over that later on. It's all part of the story later on. From here, I can actually load, well, when camp, save. One thing you might notice right away, there's the fix button here. We're going to take great use of that once we get going. Instead of having to use the Gold Box Explorer, I'll be able to use that. But Gold Box Explorer still works with this thing. So if I load it up and reset, start search, close wizard, toggle HUD, and the map. Oh, surprise! Welcome back to something familiar. Much better when you can see all that stuff, right? So while we're here, I want to go show you the training camp first to show you what happens. This is just a test game. I'll start over again because I think I will be changing some classes around a little bit depending on how I feel. Specifically the Paladin Ranger stuff. But remember Mystic of Ba. No, I guess it worked. I actually thought you lost your spells setup. It does look like he has managed to keep all of the spells we scribed in there. That's good. That's one of the things you can lose out on when you transfer over. No, it looks like our our scribe spells are correct. That's really nice, actually. Okay, good. I was worried about that not working. We're totally cool then. Unfortunately, we have lost things like that little picture. We don't get those in this game. This game just doesn't have them. You can make a new character. It doesn't have it. So that's different. I'll have to redo the icons, but there are new... Actually, no, it kept the icon. That's good. I think there are new icons available. I'll look at that later on. But it looks to me like it's kept more stuff than I was expecting, actually. So that's good. What I want to do is quickly run over to the training room. Don't worry about this. We'll worry about the story when we get here. Oh, I also have to reset. The map location is incorrect. If you haven't seen me do this before, it's kind of interesting. You, can you see? Oh, you can't see the screen. Can I add it in quickly? Add Windows Capture. I'm not sure if I can add this screen specifically. I've had a hard time with Goldbox Explorer. There we go. Is that showing up? Doesn't look like it's working. Center. Oh, there. No, that's the map. Oops. That's not what I wanted. Okay, hold on. That's the right window, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it to show up. Location wizard? There we go. Okay. This is the screen for Goldbox Explorer for changing where you are. So the way you do it is you put in your current coordinates. You can see, well, you can't quite see. It's 612 north, whatever. So you put those here. You type those in the first time you play. And then you move around in the game. And you watch. You want to see what updates. Okay, you want to see what updates on this list. Am I doing it right? I'm not doing it right. Start search. Okay, sorry. Start search again. It was saving the information from the old one. So I actually have to reset because I'm now in 512 and I'm facing north. So start search again. Okay. It looks for locations that match that, like I am. And then you move in games so you can see which variable changes as you move around. Hopefully. And we should now be in 510. Only one of these is updated to 510. So that is the variable, the location in memory that we're going to use. Save location. And now our map should stay updated even when we travel around. So that's how that works. If you're wondering how I did that, that's how that works. First off, we're going to go to the training hall. One thing of note, we all train in the same place this time around. And human change class is now an option. This is the dual class option, which allows humans to duel into a second class. So for instance, Earthfella and Christina, or Earthfella and Mystic technically could dual class, assuming their stats are high enough, which, I mean, we have basically max stats, so that works. Like, if you're trying to dual class into a mage, you need, I believe, 17 intelligence for you to even be allowed. But anyway, so let's say you did a human change class. You can pick something else. In this game, you can start as a fighter and duel into a ranger or a paladin. So say you did that. Earth Darkness is now technically a level 1 paladin. Now, he keeps his HP. His HP is the same as it used to be. His Thaco is reset to level 1. And any abilities he had in his old class are lost. So if we did this to Mystic of Ba, for instance, he would lose out on all of his spells until this class got one higher than his original. So for Mystic, he would need to be level 7 at a, say, Paladin, and then he'd be allowed, he'd remember all of his magic spells, and if his Thaco was better as a mage, which it wouldn't be, he'd get better Thaco. And then you'd be a pure Paladin, and if you unequipped your armor, you could cast magic, I think. I think in this game you can keep casting magic with armor. So you wouldn't gain any new spells. You'd only gain paladin levels, but you'd finally have access to your magic spells. It's hard to explain. I'm sorry. It's difficult. But yeah, any human class can be changed to any of the others. Maybe not cleric? Is cleric special? You have to start as a cleric or something? Oh, he can't be a paladin or a ranger because he's evil. That's all. He's limited by alignment. But yeah, you can definitely be a cleric. Okay, good. I just wanted to double check. Yeah, the reason you didn't see thief is because a thief cannot be lawful. Yeah, that's all. The list is just based on your alignment, and that's fine. So that's one option, is I can dual class some characters, or what I can do is I can I'm not sure, but I could still I could edit a character And we do have this fancy editor, right? You guys can see that. Looks like it showed up. I could remember the experience, for instance, and then apply that. I could like generate a character myself, like a let's say we wanted to turn Fella McGubbins into a cleric ranger. We could say half elf class cleric ranger. He's still have the same amount of experience. This is a little bit finicky on how this would all work. He's because he was already maxed out on his cleric level. I'm not sure what would happen here. Let's test it out, basically. Apply changes, close the screen. And the next time we look at... Let's just leave this for a second and then reload that screen properly. So now we look at Fella McGubbins. He's a Cleric Ranger level 6. It didn't actually work properly. It's not maybe that easy. We can keep training him up in Cleric. But, oh, I was going to mention this too, yeah. This is one experience short of level 8 Cleric. So we lost all the extra experience on top of that. There's no way to get it back, which is fine. You basically start with... Imagine if we created a new single-class character. You start at level 5. You start at level 8, basically. So you're fine. You're fine. But, yeah, there's probably a way to get a dual class... To edit people over if I really wanted to. Let's give him 1 level in Ranger. Maybe that's... I probably should have done that originally. Apply changes. And let's see what happens. Actually, he's going to have way too much experience because he earned it all single class. You'd have to divide it by 2. Okay, hold on. Forget Fella. Let's do it with Mystic of Ba. Let's just pretend I want to change him from Mage to Cleric Mage, for instance. So we have to first off give him an appropriate race. It's a little bit wonky how this is working, but let's just pretend. This is just options. I haven't decided yet, right? Let's say we want another Cleric / Magic user. Well, heck, let's just say Cleric Fighter Mage, because that's great. We'll give him... We'll just bonus him a single level in Fighter and Cleric only. We'll take his existing experience that he earned, divide it by 3, approximately. So this is... 240,000 is about 80,000 divided by if you divide it by 3. Apply changes. He's not going to lose any levels in Mage because he's already so high up, even in multi-class. If we reload Mystic of Ba, there you go. So now he's 116, and if we train him up, he's already got tons of experience. Oh, it immediately loses all of experience. Okay, so I would have to... Oh, sorry, you couldn't see that. Sorry. Point is, as soon as I trained him up to level 2, he lost all of his extra experience. So I would have to edit it in fiddly-widdly. Or I could just totally edit it in. Hold on. I could look up the charts. Alright, let's say I looked up the charts, and we said 80,000 experience, right? And I could just apply... so I could just say he should be... Well, level 6 Mage, we have to actually level him up. And how would I do this? Fighter would be level 7 technically. And well, it's weird though because I don't know if the THACO bonus is going to apply. This is weird. I don't know if this will work. 80,000 would be enough for a level 7 cleric. So let's see what happens if we edit it in like that, just for interest's sake. I think this is kind of, to me, this is kind of interesting, so I don't mind showing this off while we talk about transitions. So, Mystic of Ba, let's say Cleric 7, Fighter 7, Mage 6, and we'll actually train him up. Give him back his 80,000 experience, apply change. No, give him back his 80,000. Okay, it tried to read that out again. I probably didn't reload this, and it needed to be refreshed. Alright, let's see what happens. Alright, he's a level 7 Cleric Fighter and 6 Mage. His THACO did not get adjusted. So, I believe the formula is just -1 per fighter level, so I'd have to edit it myself. I think if you train him a fighter level, it just gives it a -1. We'd also have to adjust his strength if we wanted to do that. It's a bit weird. It's a bit weird. He's out of money. Okay, hold on. We probably could have just... Oh, I keep forgetting the edit screen. I closed the edit screen on my side and then I forgot. This is what it looks like if I bring this up. Not Alucard. Mystic. So he's now level 776 with his experience, but I can't afford to train him because he doesn't have enough money. So just let me trade some over. It is really annoying that we lose all of our money, basically. You do start with more money in this game than you started in Pool of Radiance, but, I mean, we used to have millions of dollars, basically. Totally overkill. So Mystic now trains, become a level 7 magic user. He can learn a level 7 or a level 4 new spells. We'll talk about these later on. Train him again. Not enough experience. Okay. Oh, it reset. It actually worked out his correct. Okay, so the game doesn't just it doesn't just apply a -1 per fighter level. It actually recalculates it based on whatever tables the game has. So if you're supposed to be level 777, as soon as you get there, the game recalculates your THAC0 correctly. Not your HP or anything. Okay. Point is, I could work this out if I wanted to. I don't know if that's what I'm going to do or not. Feel free to leave comments. Would you prefer dual classing my humans so that they go back to level 1, but they keep... You know, the dual classing is weird. Look it up. Google it. Would you prefer I just switch them to multi-class? Because I like multi-class. And I don't know about you. I think multi-class is pretty amazing. Or just keep it all the same. I'm not a huge fan of that. I'd like to have at least one ranger and one paladin. And honestly, you guys remember the final battle for Mystic of Ba, right? He got killed in one shot. Like, murdered. Completely dead. No save. He needs more HP than he can get as a pure mage. There's just no way to keep him alive, basically. Every time he dies, he'd lose 1 constitution. If we do sort of re-roll him into a cleric mage or a fighter cleric mage, I'll keep his constitution at 7. He'll be a little bit weaker, just, you know, to play it fair. But other than that, you know, or I could make new characters and start people at level 5. That's an option too. Anyway, I figured I'd go over some of the changes there. Also, one thing I want to do before we end, basically done my spiel now, however long this has been. I thought I exited. When you start this game, there's kind of an annoying thing. There's a, well, you'll see in a second. There's a DRM, the original DRM. This was not on the Pool of Radiance one that I had anyway. It's because we're playing version 1.2. Anyway, the way this works, I will show this off at least once. This is the code wheel I was talking about for so long and never showed you guys. The code wheel is this beast of a thing. And if you had it in real life, which I think I had one, I must have had them. I know I had something like this as a kid. You sort of spin the middle thing around, and these symbols match up, and then you can read the key. So the game says, whatever that is. Let's look that up. First up, the bottom is I don't even know how to explain those. The outer wheel is the first one, so it's kind of like a backwards L or something. I don't know, upside down L. So you have to find that. I think this is supposed to be the one here. Yeah, that looks right. So that's the outside. The inside is it's kind of a number technically. I think it's a number in Elvish. I think the inside track is supposed to be numbers and the outside track is letters in Elvish or something. Anyway, we're looking for this one or yeah. So this one here needs to match up to the 7. It kind of looks like a 7 here. Yeah, it looks like a 7. That's fair. 7 and backwards 7. That's how we'll refer to them. Now, this is an image we get from replacement docs in case you don't have a spin wheel at hand. Every time you go down a page, the inner wheel will rotate, or the outer wheel. Oh, I forget. Did the inner wheel rotate? Yeah, the inner wheel rotates clockwise by 1. So, in fact, you can watch as our backwards 7 gets closer to the real 7 every time. And once it matches up, then we're ready to get the code. So we'll do this on camera just for fun. So there, they matched up. I guess technically I was actually looking at it wrong. The outer wheel was going counterclockwise, whatever. So then you're supposed to follow the ... path. The dashes are actually dashes. There's dots as well. And these are dashes, those are dots. There's also ... dash ... So we're looking for the dash path. Box 2 is a P. So theoretically, assuming I did this correctly, we type in a P. Make sure there's no weird symbols there like before. Type in a P. And congratulations, you've started the game. I think that is horrible. It takes you a fairly long amount of time just to start the game. I don't think with a wheel you could do it much faster, honestly. Once you get used to the PDF file, it goes relatively quick. Anyway, I just want to show that off so you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, thanks for watching the interlude video. Let me know sort of what your opinions are on party building. I feel like having lots of magic, both clerical... I think the Pool of Radiance series, I felt a little short on clerical magic, mostly for healing. Now, we will get better healing spells. We'll go over the new spells later. But we're going to get Cure Serious and Cure Critical Wounds, and that's going to help a lot for keeping people alive. We'll also get Neutralize Poison, Raise Dead, you know, that kind of stuff. But I think having 3 people who can heal would be nice. And having 3 or 4 people who can cast magic is also nice. Consider the Paladin quasi-healing. He'll get clerical spells eventually. But for the most of the game, the Paladin will have just fighter abilities and lay on hands and stuff. We'll talk about that later. But it'd be nice to have a little bit more. I don't like the solo classes much. To be honest, I feel solo classes are boring. And I like having fighter mages, fighter clerics, or ranger clerics, stuff like that. So anyway, that's the end of my spiel. Thanks for watching. Next episode, I'll have made my decision up one way or the other, and we will begin playing the game and figuring out what has happened to our party in between games. See you guys.